If you're tired of chasing the elusive unicorn of motivation, then this episode is for you. Join me as we unravel the mysteries of the Motivation Mirage that may be holding you back. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Charity Haderlie, and you're listening to the Unmute Yourself podcast. Picture this. You're sitting there, staring at your to-do list, desperately trying to muster up the motivation to tackle it head on. But whipping yourself into a motivational frenzy? That's about as effective as teaching a cat to swim. It's not going to happen. But fear not, my friend, because there's a better way. So let's dive in. So what is the secret to unlocking motivation? Drum roll, please. It's quite simple, really. But first, let me point out a common misconception that motivation is something you can just create out of thin air. It's just not true. So if you're trying to wait until you feel like it, you'll find that motivation is just a mirage that's tantalizingly out of reach. So what's the secret? According to the brilliant Dr. Irene O'Brien, a neuroscientist extraordinaire, the single best way to amp up your motivation is to make progress in meaningful work, no matter how small. Wait, what? How can you make progress when you aren't motivated? Let me give you some examples. Imagine your desk, a chaotic mix of papers, half-empty drink mugs, and forgotten sticky notes. Instead of forcing yourself into that motivated state, start small. Clear off just one corner of your desk or organize a single drawer. Heck, if your notebooks have become the Leaning Tower of Pisa, begin by putting them away, or at least by stacking them neatly. And as you make progress on those simple tasks, you'll begin to feel a sense of accomplishment and begin to build momentum. And here's more. Doing a small task gives you a hit of dopamine. It's like getting a gold star sticker, but on the inside. And before you know it, you'll tackle the rest of the clutter with renewed energy. Here's another example. Imagine yourself waking up bleary-eyed. You've been putting off your workouts for months. You know it's important, but the thought of pounding it out on the treadmill or at the gym makes you want to curl up in your blankie and wish you'd somehow get the benefits without even moving a muscle. So, instead of focusing on the whole workout, ask yourself, what is one simple task I can do without even thinking about it? Here's something that helps me. Just change into my workout clothes or putting my shoes on. Think about when it's game day for a basketball or tennis or any performance you've been part of. You dress for the sport, right? You put on your uniform and it helps you focus. It increases your motivation. And then after getting suited up for the workout or whatever it is that you want to get motivation for, set the timer for 10 minutes and begin. You can handle anything for just 10 minutes, right? And deciding to dress for the sport and get started with just 10 minutes requires far less mental gymnastics than thinking about tackling the whole workout. Okay, let me say that one more time. When you simply decide to dress for the sport and then you begin with that 10 minutes, it requires far less mental gymnastics than thinking about tackling a full workout. And when you just jump in, before you know it, those 10 minutes turn into 15, which then evolve into 20, and soon enough, you're sweating. I mean, you're glimmering with accomplishment. When it comes to those moments when you're trying to think yourself into action, I want you to just pause and consider how often you're in that place where you're not taking action, you're just thinking about that. You're stuck in that mental gymnastics, which is exhausting you, and then nothing gets done. So pay attention to that. It really does happen. It happens for me too. So being aware that that's what's going on, like, oh, I am stuck in mental gymnastics. So let me reel my mind back into my body and focus on one simple thing that I can do right now. That's where your power is. Being in the present moment and taking action where you are. Here's another important thing to remember because it really does help. Jerome Brunner, a Harvard psychologist, once said, "You are more likely to act yourself into feeling than feeling yourself into action." Okay, I'm going to repeat that one again. You are more likely to act yourself into feeling than feeling yourself into action. And this highlights a crucial truth that motivation is a follower, not a leader. And it's up to you to lead your motivation. You be the leader of your motivation because it'll follow you after you take your first step. Now let's address an important aspect of motivation. Sometimes we tend to think that motivation will strike like lightning and propel you forward into action with irresistible energy and force. Why is that? Why do we believe that and wait for it? I think it's because you have had times like that, haven't you? That has happened to you in the past. And you've experienced that focused and powerful motivation that helped you tackle the crazy project in less time than you believed it would, right? You've had that experience. And you remember feeling that oomph that got you started and kept you going. And so, because that has happened, it's tempting to believe that if you wait patiently, that feeling of motivation will knock you upside the head and you'll get cracking again. When that happens, we get lost in this false belief that if you try to think yourself into it, you can somehow unlock your motivation. However, these motivational miracles that we've all experienced from time to time are rare exceptions. They're not reliable rules. What produces these rare surges of motivation is nothing more than a perfect storm of factors. And these factors may include goals, intrinsic rewards, extrinsic rewards, belief in yourself, perceived control, interest and passion, perceived importance, emotional state, personal values, mindsets, habits, external stimuli, internal stimuli,
environmental cues, past experiences, personal desires, living deadlines, inspired thinking, attitude, health factors, and even social factors.
Just to name a few. So you see, brewing up this perfect storm to whip yourself into a motivated state is about as likely as hoping to make a sloth break the land speed record. It just ain't gonna happen for you. Know what I mean? And no, I'm not saying that you're a sloth, but I'll be honest, sometimes my sloth man tendencies do get the best of me, and I too find myself waiting for motivation. But here's my invitation to you and also a reminder to myself. Rather than trying to recreate this perfect motivational storm, quit trying and stop thinking about it. Dive headfirst into a simple task and you'll activate a powerful feedback loop within that pushes you forward. Each step you take builds momentum, igniting a sense of purpose and drive within you. Remember that action is the shortcut to motivation. So, my friend, the next time you find yourself chasing the motivation mirage, take a deep breath and take your first step. You got this. As we wrap up, remember, your story is significant, your power is undeniable, and your voice can change the world. Own it, claim it, and spread the goodness. It's up to you to unmute yourself. Hey, before you head out, be sure to follow this podcast and leave a review. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support.